Right, morning boys and girls. What I want to show you this morning is basically the torque wrench settings for the crank. I've already done the main bearings, and they're all done. The lock tabs are all bent over. What I did yesterday, as you know, with the putting the pistons in, I worked from the rear of the engine. I put number 4 in first, then I turned the crank. Although it was a little bit stiff. It got gradually stiffer because, as I said yesterday, the engine's been rebored. It's been standing a long time. The rings have got to cut into the board after it was honed quite a while ago. And each one I turned before I finally tightened everything down. I turned it over, and then I moved on to the next one, and so on till I got to the last one. And as you saw yesterday, it was quite hard to turn the engine over. The engine does turn over now. I'm quite happy with the way it turns over, although it is a little bit tight. That's to be expected with having the new pistons and rings, the rebore, all new shells and mains. They've got to bed in, and that's why we have a running in period on the engine. But what I'm going to show you today is just a quick video, and for all you experienced mechanics, you won't find this interesting at all. This is for the beginner who's maybe bought a classic car and wants to try and do a little bit of work on it himself. These videos are intended for those people. They're amateurs. They might not have very many tools, they might not have a very big workshop, and they want to do it on a budget. So this is just for those people. If you learn something from it, that's great. I'll be quite happy at that, because I'll know that, you know, somebody's getting some pleasure out of them. Now, the torque wrench, as I say, you don't have to pay a lot of money for these things. I bought this one, as you know, on Fleabay. I think it was about 25 quid at the time. I've had it a long time. Now, unfortunately, I bought it with Newton meters and kilograms. Now, if you're fortunate enough to buy one with foot pounds, because all these engines, these old A series engines, work on foot pounds, they don't work on meters. But it's not a big problem to get them to work on converting from foot pounds to meters. So what you need to do, first of all, you need to go to your book. You really need to get yourself a manual, and you'll see in the manual that it's got a list there, look, quite clearly. It's got all your torque wrench settings all laid out for you. CONROD bolts, £35. Crankshaft pulley nut, £70. Now, all those probably gobbledygook to you, you young lads that's working on these engines. So what you need to do, if you've got a metric torque wrench like I've got, you need to convert that. So all you do, just go onto your mobile phone or your laptop and just put in convert pounds per foot to Newton meters, and your torque wrench, it's actually got Newton meters written on there, look. So you convert the foot pounds to Newton meters, or you can convert it to kilograms. What you must always remember to do, always use the same settings. If you're going to convert to Newton meters, then always use Newton meters, because otherwise you'll find that you've got you're mixing everything up. So you want to try and keep everything as simple as you can. Now, I found out this morning that the torque wrench settings for the CONROD bolts, the CONROD bolts are down in the book as £35 per foot, £35. And I converted that on the Newton meter scale on the mobile phone, because I'm quite tech for an old guy. Converted that, and it gave me 47 Newton meters. It was 47.4 something, but we're not bothered for a couple of degrees. We're happy at 47. So what I did, I slackened off my torque wrench. Well, remember when I told you, when you put your torque wrench away, always slacken the end nut off and unwind it. Then the spring's not under any tension. So I unscrewed my torque wrench when I put it away like that. So I screwed it up till I got 47. Came up to 47, just that mark there, and then I turned the wheel. This wheel here, you calculate it that there's number 6, and I can calculate it to 47. You then tighten up your nailed nut at the end. What that does, it stops it from moving while you're setting your while you're moving your torque wrench in your hand. And get your adapter if you need one for the end of the spanner. And all we're going to do, I'm just going to show you. I've done all the rest. I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to go through and show you every single one. I've got these 2 left to do. So you do 2 and then rotate the crank and then do the other 2. So all we're doing is we're putting our torque wrench onto the bolt, and we're going to turn it down till it clicks. And they're quite tight. As soon as you hear that click, stop. Don't do any more than that. Don't think, well, I'll just give it one more turn. These nuts are tensile. They're tensile steel, and they're designed to only go up to a certain torque and then start stretching. And you don't want that to happen because obviously it weakens the nut. So for our purposes, as soon as it clicks, turn it off. Don't tighten any more down. So that's that one. And then all we're doing is, I did tighten these with my socket wrench first, so I didn't over tighten them. So I knew there'd be plenty left to do on them for you lads, so I could show you. Don't guess these settings. Don't guess them. Buy a torque wrench. You can get them at a car boot sale. You might be looking to buy them for 15 quid. There's nothing to go wrong with them. They might not be 100% accurate, but for our job, they're good enough. But you know, if you can afford 20-25 quid, buy yourself one. You don't need a big, long, massive one like this. This is it'll do for. I suppose it would do for trucks as well, things like that. But this one was good enough. It was a silver line. Got it off eBay. Silver line. Comes in a little case. You get a little extension bar, which you may or may not use, but for the money. Conversion tables. It tells you on there foot-pounds, and it doesn't actually give you a conversion table, unfortunately, but that's what it is. So that's your torque wrench settings. Now, what you've got to remember to do, boys and girls, is always knock your lock tabs over. I'm not going to show you how to do that because even a 3-year-old knows how to knock these lock tabs over. Just bend them over with a little hammer, and that's your job done. I just want to show you one other thing. When people was asking me the other day about what, when I was hammering little things, giving them a little tap, I've got this here is not a steel hammer. It's actually got a little, that's quite a hard plastic part, and this is a little rubber part, and I just sometimes you have to just give a little tap over. That won't work on there because it's steel. I was going to show you how to knock that over, but that's what I use for that. And the other queries, people have said, why don't you get an engine stand? Because I'm cracking on a little bit now. I'm a bit ancient. I was born in the last century. Why don't you have an engine stand? Why haven't you got this? Why haven't you got that? I haven't got all those things because I'm working in a little garden shed. I just haven't got the room because, as you know, you accrue a lot of things. And I can show you basically what I've got, and then you'll see what we've got to work with, and you'll see what you can do just in your back garden, in your little garden shed. It's not a big workshop. I've got a few cans of essentials, which are your WD-40 and things, and then you've got all your normal bits and pieces, what you have in a garage: copper grease, bit of axle paint. I've got a shelf on the top, and anything that's spare that you might forget or you might lose, you just stick your little bits and pieces up on the top of your shelf. I've got a couple of old pistons, and various bits and pieces, cleaning stuff, and a lot of stuff that's not related to cars. That's a sump to go on the engine, etc, etc. A few parts, and these right in the back corner of the shed is just all the stuff that you don't use. You've got your decorating stuff, like normal people have. Boxes and drills, a couple of starter motors, bits of paint, and all that's just a mishmash. And I dare say I could root all that out, but you never know. You'd throw something away and then the next time you need it. This is the dirty side of my shed. I've got all my tools, bits and pieces lying around. I'm not the tidiest mechanic, but I actually know where everything is. So this is my dirty side. If I'm going to do any stripping down first, when the parts are dirty, there's all my old rags and various bits and pieces and drills, bits and things that and this is the dirty side, as I say. I'm in the process there of cleaning that. That'll get cleaned up and paint stripped off it, and then it'll all be cleaned up, and you'll see that when it's finished, going back on the engine. just loads of bits and pieces. I've got my socket set. The only thing I always tidy away is my socket set. It's a Halford socket set, cost me 80 quid, and it's been worth its weight in gold. It's got some AF and Whitworth and metric and all sorts. You'll find something to fit in there. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need every tool. Various bits and pieces. You accrue a couple of things. You know, some old guys you'll see me at a car boot sale. You only use these sort of big sockets once every Sheffield flood for taking the crank bolts out and things like that. So you just see it's not a big deal. Underneath I've got that's an engine stand that I've made myself. Somebody said don't use the toolbox, so I've made that out of an old garden chair, and I'll use that later. A couple more parts getting cleaned. Jet wash, I've got these under here. These are all my cylinder heads that have all been converted. I've got 5 of those. Paid a lot of money to get those converted up front, to get those done. So all the heads that I sell on the engines, they've all been converted to run on unleaded. They've had new valve seats put into them. Underneath I've got a couple of old bits, an old crank, and just my old rubbish pile. There's nothing spectacular in this shed. It's just an ordinary garage shed. I think it's about 10 foot long, and it's about 5 or 6 foot, 6 foot wide, 5 foot. And you guys, I've no doubt, could tidy that up a lot better. But that's what we work with. I don't want to spend a lot of money on stuff. I like to do things for as little cost as possible. Just doing a good job. As long as you keep your work area clean. There's my clean area. And as I said, all you need to do, get yourself a piece of hardboard, anything that's cheap, lying around. Put it on top of your bench, keep it clean. When you're doing a fresh job, get yourself a piece of cardboard and put your current work on the cardboard. That's a bit grubby now, but you know what you're working with. You've got all your stuff in a polythene bag. You empty your bag out, you know it's there. You can clean your parts. They're easy to see. And cardboard costs nothing. Just go to Tesco's, get yourself another couple of boxes, lay it out. Every time you work, you've got to clean. I ain't going to show you how we did this because yesterday I put the new timing gears on this engine, and basically there's nothing to show you because all it is, there's 2 points on these wheels. There's one there and there's one a bit further around because I've rotated the engine. But when you put these 2 wheels on, there's plenty of videos on eBay showing you how to do that. Mini forums, they're all exactly the same. These 2 things need to go adjacent to each other, right like that. And that's, once those 2 dots, I'll show you when they line up next time I make a video when I'm putting all this and timing it. I'll show you what that looks like. But for now, you've got the new timing gears and a brand new timing chain. There's no rattling or anything on that chain. It's nice and tight. There's tensioners inside the wheel. I'll show you about that another day. And that's been done because I don't want to bore you showing you things that are pretty self-explanatory, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's all been cleaned up. But for now I've just got to the next job on here, I only kept that for you to show you lads. I've just got to bend these lock tabs over. They've all been done, and it was your choice, remember, whether you used the old ones or the new ones. I've used new ones on here, as I said. So that's the video. That's what I'm working with. So there you go guys. I hope I haven't bored you too much this morning, and thanks for watching, and if you like the video you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you.